Hi, this is Maurice Odhiambo, the African teacher. There seems to be an ongoing mobilization against the Nigerian state, against the Nigerian leadership. And some of us may not like presidents across Africa. But when this mobilization is being done by the United States of America and its allies, then it is worrying, and all African people must pay attention. The propaganda has been built around claims that Christians are being killed in Nigeria, that Christians are being butchered in Nigeria. There is no evidence whatsoever to support that premise. I have done my research, you can do yours. I have not seen an iota of evidence that there is any systematic killing of Christians in that great country called Nigeria. We know Nigeria has its internal problems. We know many people do not like the system. And after the Gen Z's revolution here in Kenya last year, Nigerian Gen Zs also tried to protest on the streets because they do not like the regime, because the regime is not serving them at all. In fact, because Nigeria is really the leader in the ECOWAS region, it is the hegemonic power in the ECOWAS region, just like Kenya is the hegemonic power in the East African Community region. And it is because of the perceived closeness of Nigeria to imperialist powers that made countries like Niger, Burkina Faso leave ECOWAS. So there is a problem. Now, in a separate video, I've talked about the role of the United Arab Emirates, UAE, in the third, what I actually call the third scramble for African resources. You know, the UAE wants to colonize Sudan. The UAE has played a major role in the genocide that is going on in the Sudan. But let's step back a little bit and see what the problem is and why there is this very heavy propaganda against the leadership of Nigeria. First of all, the United States of America is a dying empire, and no empire just fizzles out like that. So it is fighting back. You've seen that fight back through tariffs, and now there's a resurgence of militarism within US policymaking circles. This is why the US is preparing to attack Venezuela under the pretext of fighting drugs. We know for many years what the United States of America has done to countries in South America. We know the destabilization. We know the militarization. It is all recorded. Just read Klein's famous book on capitalism, and you'll see all the campaigns of destabilization that the United States of America has undertaken in South America, because it has always considered this to be within its sphere of influence. Now, what is going on in Venezuela? Venezuela has the richest deposits of oil in the world. That is very well known. The Western world has always done a mapping of these resources. The Western world knows which country has which resources and in which quantities and qualities and so on and so forth. So the regime change plan, and it did not start today, it started with Hugo Chavez many years ago. The regime change plan for Venezuela is now in full swing. And from the way I see it, because USA is now competing with China, and of course the UAE I've talked about is also a player in this process. And of course Russia is also very much involved in the African theater. So we are seeing a full-fledged third scramble for African resources led by these countries. And my take is that these threats against Nigeria, against the people of Nigeria, are part and parcel of that process. Of course, the US has already been involved in the so-called peace plan between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo, which I've many times said that is fake, because you cannot go to boardrooms in Qatar and Washington, D.C. and package peace as if it is chips and chicken, and then bring it and feed it to the people. The people must be the ones fighting for their own peace. The people must be the ones who are signatories to that peace plan. Without that, there is no peace. Peace must be based on the material conditions of the people. That is what I've been teaching you about as the African teacher. So we must be careful, because I've seen friends who have now taken these messages by the evangelicals, the radical, fundamentalist, stupid evangelicals in the US, who have always been against the liberation of the African people. These are conservative, neo-Nazi elements that can never support the liberation of Africa. So we must act, African people.